Welcome to the Floor Academy podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Hadeen, former installation contractor and boutique store owner, coming to you this week with Mike Somodean. Welcome back to the show. Mike, we are going to be discussing how to get out of your own way. I think within the trades, we got a lot of machismo. There's a lot of really stubborn men, since it's a male-dominated industry within it. And we like to think that because we're amazing artisans, craftspeople, that because we are so awesome at our skill, that naturally means that we are so awesome at running our business. And sadly, those two things are mutually exclusive. They don't run together, and they just because you are a great craftsperson does not mean you run a great business. And you have to treat them separately, and we need to normalize this. We need to make it okay to understand that you have to learn a different skill set to run a business. We need to be willing to help people learn that, let them know where they can go and get it. And we need to let them know that it's okay to go and get help. And so we're going to dig into, so Mike, let's see. Mike moved from Romania in 2003. He started MSCS Inc., which is his hardwood sand and finish business, in 2006. He picked up a wife. He picked up a child along the way. He is a certified installer and certified NWFA installer, sand and finisher, sales advisor, and a regional instructor for them. He made their 40 under 40 and has even won NWFA Floor of the Year. And so all of those accolades are absolutely amazing, right? Look, he's got the family, he's got professional credits to his name. It's amazing. But that, again, where does that equate to being an awesome business owner? It doesn't go together. I wish
all those accolades mean nothing when you say it like that I picked up a wife.
I don't mean it like that, buddy. He found love, and look, I'm sure the family is amazing, right? And I actually appreciate that you had that in your bio, because I had a great episode where it was about like, how do you identify yourself? And oftentimes in Western culture, we identify ourselves as what we do, right? You ask somebody like, who are you? And they immediately say like, I'm a floor installer, or I'm a plumber, an electrician, whatever, I'm a therapist. No one ever identifies as I'm the son of, I'm the daughter of, I'm the husband of, or wife of. Yeah. So I appreciated you having those there. I loved that they were in there. So how do we, there's a lot of stuff, right? And so how do we get out of our own way? How do we admit that we need help and move forward? So we're going to dig into what had to change about who Mike was as a person before he hired a coach, how that coach helped him move his business forward, what's changed about him and his business since we've last chatted, which was at this point probably a good at least 2 years ago, if not closer to 3 or more.
I think it was more than that.
Yeah.
So first of all, thank you for the invite. Great to be back, and thank you for the fluffy presentation.
You're welcome. I want to have you introduce yourself. I got to get a couple ad reads in first, and then we'll get into this. I'm sorry, I got to make you wait. Everyone's got to wait a little bit longer. So I got 2 quick sponsor reads. We've got, if you're struggling to keep your schedule, forgetting to, I gotta pull up this ad. I'm way out of practice here. I haven't done this in a minute. Struggling to keep your schedule, forgetting to follow up with clients. Are your books behind? Cronus Flooring Business Manager has the solutions you are looking for. Streamline your life, gain more freedom, and maintain control of your business. From scheduling to follow-up reminders, integration with QuickBooks, and producing quotes quickly, you can say goodbye to your business headaches. Visit cronosoft.com/academy today to schedule your demo for this all-in-one approach for flooring business organization. Cronus, fast relief for your flooring business headaches. That is KRONUSSOFT.com/academy, or check out the link in the show notes. Attention flooring professionals, Elevate your craftsmanship with the finest tools and supplies from tiletools.com. From spacers to saws, we have everything you need for flawless tile installations. Plus, we offer top-notch customer service and fast shipping. As a special offer for Floor Academy listeners, use code FA10 at checkout to receive 10% off your next order. Don't settle for less. Visit tiletools.com today and experience the difference in quality and service that professionals trust. In fact, my shipment came 2 days early and there was a holiday last week. So, hey, fast shipping it is. And that was even with it being like a ground shipment. And so Arizona to Wisconsin, I believe, according to the Big Brown Company, is supposed to be 3 to 4 days, and the system said it was going to take a little over a week because of the holiday, and then it ended up coming a couple days early. So fast shipping it is. Tiletools.com, guys. All right, now that's enough for me. I'm sorry I had to have cut you off, Mike. Please, who are you? What do you do, and why do you do it?
How cool would it be about that Kronos ad if time management and all the other skills we're lacking would be as easy as popping a pill?
Oh man, wouldn't it? That would be, if I could pop a pill and run a better business. I'll split the profits with you when I figure it out.
Right, and still about what you said with all of us being great at everything, there would still be some people that would not take the pill because they would think they don't need it, right?
Oh yes,
Yeah,
much
we
so.
are. It's an old joke in our circles by now, but it's ever living. We're all divas,
Yes.
right? So yes, we do tend to get in the way of ourselves on a lot of aspects, especially when you start getting good at something, right? And you feel that confidence. Now I know so much more about my craft that implicitly means I know how to sell my craft, I know how to manage my craft financially and all that, all those business aspects that then just grow into this whole big conundrum that you gotta navigate, and then it leads to frustration and being burned out, and it's gonna leak into the craft part of it that you thought you had it down to a science, right? But now you're so frustrated. So, yeah, it's a journey, it's a process.
It is. I think for me, the easiest way to like sum it up, not that there's not going to be a lot of great detail and insights within this episode, but I think Michael Gerber within the E-Myth puts it really well in that, you can be a technician of whatever it is, right? He calls them thingamabobs or widgets in the book or whatever, right? It doesn't matter what widget you're making, and you can be a really good technician, and then you start the business and you no longer just make widgets. And I think that's what people don't always realize, is that you then are wearing a marketing hat, you're wearing the sales hat, you're wearing the scheduling hat, you're wearing the materials procurement hat.
Yeah, and then he also has that other entrepreneur, the third personality to that whole thing. Remember, there's the craftsman, the artist, then there's the guy that puts the logical on it, how to make it work, and then there's the entrepreneur that kind of wants to speed it up and scale it up, and so you got to marry all of those together somehow. And I'm not saying it can't be done, but a one-man show, a one-man band can only get so far, right?
For sure.
So that's the point I got to a couple of years ago. I think I said this in the last episode. My flooring career, I consider to have had two stages. One was before I discovered education and everything that came with it, and then after, right? Two separate things. They have absolutely nothing in common except for being in the same field. Because nowadays the whole conversation about education and improving your skills and all of that, and getting the knowledge to be in the know, to know you're doing stuff right, to protect yourself from the pitfalls of doing it wrong and the liability and all of that. That discussion is very popular. But what a lot of people don't understand on the knowledge part, on getting involved with the education, that also brings you the networking, right? So you start talking to people, and you start talking to people who are ahead of you on pretty much the same path.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the true value of getting involved, and it's a slippery slope, right? Because then you want more and more and more, and you're I consider myself to be an overachiever. So whenever I get to this point, I've been chasing it so hard that when I actually achieve it, I'm having a hard time spending time and enjoying it because I am already eyeing the next thing and the next thing, right? That's me.
I think that's a lot of us. I think it's normal, right? Like we want more and more and more. And so what do you have to identify happiness as something beyond the achievement to actually enjoy it. Right. I think it's good to keep pushing, and it's good to have goals and to get past them and have new ones. And
well, I think there's a lot of truth in the whole cliche with enjoy the journey, not the destination.
mm-hmm.
Because if the journey, if you don't put value on the journey, then you're not going to be able to enjoy the destination. You don't know the true value of it, right?
Definitely.
But if you don't start to engage, right? If you stay in your bubble, you might not know about those other levels, those higher levels that you can achieve. So you might be content with being that one-man show. You might be content with being the craftsman for 8 hours a day, and then the accountant, the bookkeeper for 2 hours a week, and then, the financial guru or whatever you need at your level. You might be okay with that. But once you open up and you're exposed to all these other, professionals on all different levels, at first you're frustrated because, you lose your confidence. Okay, like I thought I'm doing pretty well, but look at this guy or that girl. And then you start to kind of make sense of it. And okay, so he started where I was. How did he get there?
Yeah.
And to me, the most wonderful part about it is when I started reaching out to these people, they were super happy to help and to share. Right?
Mm-hmm.
The fact that I'm working with Doug that you had in your previous episode, I didn't just, discover Doug. Doug was recommended to me by somebody I really look up to and I consider a mentor.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew of Doug for a certain period of time before starting to work with him. But there was some prep going on to get me ready to work with Doug. Make sense?
It does.
That work was mostly done on my perspective of it. Understanding, like stepping off that pedestal, that diva pedestal. I'm so good at everything, right?
Yes.
You don't even consider there's a benefit in stepping down, right?
Well,
You need that dose of humility. And
for sure.
For me, that's how it was made obvious. You can on your own, you can only get to this level. And then you're going to plateau. But nowadays, in our industry and in life, in society, in the marketplace in general, if you idle, you die. If you don't keep growing at the inflation rate, that means you're standing still.
Yes.
If you're just idling at the same numbers year over year, the $100 that you had 3 years ago is not the same value nowadays, right?
Ooh, yeah, that's a scary thought. And just within that of you talking about like you had to mature and you had to learn some lessons and get ready to have a coach. Like, what was the negative mindset that you probably had going on about coaches about somebody helping you with your business, because again, it was like, I'm a diva. I know my trade and I know how to make money, and look, I am making money and the bank account says so. Why would I need help? Who could tell me how to do better? Like, what was going on, and what was that whole mindset that had to change? What was really holding you back from seeing the value in a coach? Because I think a lot of people think like, why, I don't need somebody to tell me what to do. Like, why would I trust somebody else to tell me how to run my business? Who's going to know it better than me?
Exactly. So I think it's human nature when you dismiss uh, something because you don't truly understand it and you don't look into it. For
Mm-hmm.
me, as far as coaching, like you said, it was pretty much they're all the same. They talk about the same thing, but they don't know my particular situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because my problems are mine and they're bigger than anybody else's, right?
Uh-huh.
So how would you know? How would you understand? That would be on one hand, and then on the other hand, there, in my case, there was the pride, the ego. I have to admit that I can't sort this out on my own.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I need to reach out for help. And I was like, throughout my life, I was never good at that. I was horrible at reaching out. It's, I'm mature enough to admit that right now. And
Yeah.
it was the wrong thing to do and the wrong way to look at things.
I think, man, I can't even blame you for that. And I think it's, Western society has normalized men having to not have emotions and not need help. We're supposed to be able to stand up and take care of our families and do it all on our own, and we're not
That's
supposed to
that's
need anything else. And like that
that's
normalization is affecting us in it's not just that, it's now affecting how we look at like even young kids. Like, they don't want to go ask for help in class because they don't want to be told, like, that they can't do it right, or they're dumb, or whatever it's going to be, right? Like, I don't want to deal with the consequences of having to do it because it's hard. I think it's one of those things that puts us outside of our comfort zone, and we all know that in order to grow you have to get uncomfortable, and no one likes
that's
living there.
that's what it is. That's what it is. It's getting out of your comfort zone because as human beings, and it does depend on the personality you have. You tend to build up this persona, this wall, this safe space for yourself. You put up these images of yourself, and then you kind of have to tear those down to, like, as a child in class, go out, ask for help, because then you're going to be considered less or stupid or dumb or whatever for
Mm-hmm.
asking that question. Look at the groups. A lot of people that maybe are new or have been lurking around, when they first post, the first thing they do, they go like, stupid question. You know,
Yeah.
that that's like, they're kind of apologetic for it, or shy.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter how many times we say there are no stupid questions, right? Because if you ask something that might be, you know, like basic,
Yeah.
there might be, wherever you are on the path, there might be people behind you that actually had that question, but unlike you, they didn't yet build the courage to ask.
Yep.
So now, just by you asking that question and other people answering 30 different ways, those other people who didn't even have the courage to ask, and now they actually know that answer, and it actually encourages them to ask the other questions. So I think that's how we grow, that's how we build. um, in my case, I got to a certain point. um, yeah, I'll absolutely credit the education and getting involved with getting my skills to a certain point
Mm-hmm.
where my business kept growing. But then you hear a knock on the door and it's the growing pains, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, now we're talking about different numbers. Now we're talking about different needs for the business to keep going because I'm good. People know that I'm good. People refer me. Now there's all these people asking for all these other things. I can charge more, but now I have to handle those other things and I have to shift focus off of what I was actually recommended for, the value that I would bring. So I'm not into that as much because I have to handle these other things. So that's how the frustration starts building, right?
Mm-hmm. What was that point for you? Where did you find it hard to get over? Like there's levels of business, and so I'm wondering like where you kind of started getting
It's
stuck at
not related.
first.
My turning point is not related to business. Like I'm the type of person that needed to do it all. Um, I remodeled 99% of my house,
Mm-hmm.
everything. I didn't install the tile, a friend of mine did, but flooring, drywall, electrical, plumbing, and all of that. At one point, I needed a gate because I put up a fence,
Mm-hmm.
and I needed a metal gate. So I went out and bought a welder, and I taught myself how to weld.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And then my house is 1985. We have copper piping, and they're kind of nearing their life expectancy. So the whole neighborhood started getting pinhole leaks in the pipes, right?
Yeah.
The type of leak that you only discover months and months later. So I started getting them, and a friend of mine that lives in the neighborhood got 9 of them,
Jeez.
9, and he is like, as far as being handy, he's illiterate. He knows nothing about it. Now, in my
Okay.
case, it probably cost me less than $25 to fix a pinhole.
Mm-hmm.
By the third, I'm like, I'm done. I'm repiping the house. So I was kind of judging, okay, I can repipe my own house if I need to, but then how much is it going to cost me? How much am I going to save?
Mm-hmm.
I started getting quotes, you know? So I put that in perspective and I'm like, how about I do what I'm good at and make more money than it costs me to pay that guy? And my piping is going to be done professionally,
Yeah.
right? So in as an extension of that, I was going through the growing pains with the business, right?
Okay.
I was like, okay, so I am getting frustrated with this QuickBooks and chart of accounts and categorizing and reconciling and doing all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'd rather be sanding right now instead of doing this crap.
Yeah, for sure.
But there's actually people who do that crap with the same passion that I do flooring.
Yes.
And I started looking for a bookkeeper. And obviously the taxes, I used to use the same accountant for like 10 years. But then with the growing pains, with different questions about the business, because now I'm starting to get to a different level, he
Mm-hmm.
didn't have the answers for me. So I had to upgrade from that. And I found a small business accounting and bookkeeping company on LinkedIn that actually specializes in my level.
Okay.
I looked into how much that would cost. How much time would that save me? How much value do I put on that time?
Mm-hmm.
And it balanced out. Make sense? So
Yeah.
if I have to spend 5 hours a month, just giving you a number, right? Five
Mm-hmm.
hours a month going through all of the transactions, whether it's accounts, credit cards, download statements, going to QuickBooks. I did hold my own books for about 3 years, so I'm conversational in
Yes.
QuickBooks, not proficient. Okay. So paying a guy $300 a month because
Easy
he's
decision.
proficient, that frees up 5 hours, 6 hours of my time. What do you want to call it? 50, $60 an hour?
It's more than that, man. We both know that. But yes.
I'm giving you the number that I was talking about at the time. So
Mm-hmm.
$300 a month to
Yeah.
hold my book, right? For a lot of people, that would be a lot. And I get it. But it depends on what kind of value you put on that as far as what, and that's where a lot of people go wrong. You don't consider yourself in the business, the time you personally put in the
Yeah,
business,
yeah. Well,
right?
that's just what we have to do. That's part of it. It doesn't count. How does it not count, man? Just because you're not sanding a floor doesn't mean it doesn't count. You're working in the business still, so it's hours. I love that you
The
started off with that, because for me, like anybody as they come up, the fact that you admitted like I'm conversational in it, yes, you absolutely need to understand how books are kept. But to
I'm
me, that's the first
conversational.
hire you should make.
I'm conversational in welding now. I'm
Mm-hmm.
conversational in landscaping. I've got a pretty nice yard. But while other people and even myself a while back, I would just like barely could wait to get out of work and come home and chug a beer and mow my lawn. I got to the point where now I got to mow my lawn too. So now I have a landscaping company that I pay $120 a month, and my
Mm-hmm.
yard is pristine. And I get to sip a coffee and look out the window, and it's being done. And that $120 a month for whatever would take me, maybe they come twice a month. So if I would have to put the same kind of work, it
Mm-hmm.
would take 5, 6, 7 hours.
Look,
So I'm spending $120 for 5, 6, 7 hours that I can now take my son to the park fishing or to the jumping place or do whatever.
I'm gonna leave
So
that one alone. We're not gonna get into fishing.
no, no, no.
I'm
saying- So if you put it in that perspective, right? Okay, I got to pay $120
yeah,
a month for just turn it upside down. Would you pay $120 to have 5, 6 hours with your kid at
of
the
course I
park?
would. Why wouldn't I? My question to you is going to be: have you added a house cleaner yet for you and your wife to start
I
alleviating that stuff around the house?
No, because nobody can clean as well as we do, and
Do
we're
they
not
have
that.
to clean as well as you do, or do they just have to be proficient at cleaning?
I did not say we graduated from the whole process. We're still in the,
But I know I
but
love where your mind's at, because I think that's the huge shift that business owners need to make, and we struggle with it of like I have to do it, I have to do it. Nobody's going to do it the way I do it. And when you
yeah,
can learn to let go and you learn how to hold people accountable to the standard, because like you said, you're conversational in it, now you're able to sit there and say, well, why is this happening and what happened here? And like you can look at the reports and you can see, but what does it do, right? So the bookkeeper's $300, $500 a month, whatever. As the business grows, it starts to become a little more expensive as they have to put more hours in. But if that's
yeah,
freeing up 3, 5, 10 hours a month of your time, what does that equate to, right? Can you go make a $10,000 sale? Well, if you can, then it's a
that's
no-brainer, right? Now you're not mowing your lawn and taking care of all of that. You get time with your kid. That's a great trade-off. It also gives you time to probably get a bid done and probably go make the sale, or it lets you stay on a floor an hour longer and make the money back. Like you only have so much time to give, and when you understand how to start leveraging yourself, so that it's how do I put myself in a higher task that pays more per hour, because I don't want to be stuck at $20 an hour. How do I get to 50? How do I get to 100? How do I get to 200? How do I get to 500? How do I make my per hour rate go up so that I can leverage more time? Because Mike has,
see
let's let
all of these questions and all these thoughts. If you are the one man band that wears all the hats,
mhm.
you don't have the luxury to think about these things.
I mean, you do. You don't have a lot of time.
You're too busy. Like the whole thing with paying for time, it depends on how philosophical you want to get. What am I buying with the money that I pay to delegate all these tasks? I am buying the freedom to do whatever I want with that extra time that I now have.
Yeah.
Whether I choose to invest it in my business and ask myself all these questions that you just said, right?
Hmm.
How do I become more efficient? Because I have 24 hours in a day, you have 24 hours in a day. The difference is I sell time. You sell time. I don't sell floors.
Yes.
I can sell 8 hours of actual work, right? Labor, and then I can sell another whatever, how many hours I can afford in a day. Like you said, you spent 15 hours yesterday working on that remodel, right? Next time, if you got that luxury, you're going to say, okay, I spent 15 hours. I made, again, bogus numbers, $3,000.
Yeah.
Next time for the 15 hours, I have high expectations of me. So I'm going to want to make $4,000.
Yes.
Right. So that's what we all sell. That's where it's all these things are generally applied. We all sell time. Right. There's a quote from Jim Rohn. I don't know if you know Jim Rohn.
I know the name. Yeah.
He was actually the mentor for Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins, everybody knows about him. So he says, if you make $20 an hour, you don't make $20 an hour because they pay the hour. They pay the value that you bring in the hour. Otherwise, you would be home on the sofa and they would send you a $20 check every hour. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So how efficient you get, how much you can get your skills up, your sales, your whatever, sales skills, that's up to you. But we all have 24 hours. I can sell the 24 hours for $240, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can sell it for $24,000 if I bring that much value to the marketplace in that time. And if I have to do all of these tasks myself, I cannot do that. If I want to get something at it, you know, the theory with 10,000 hours, you have to put 10,000 hours into something at it. How much faster would I have 10,000 hours of focused work on that task if I could delegate all the other ones?
Yes.
So that's what I'm buying, right?
No, I love it. I think that's the key here is I say it all the time. You need to be able to buy your way out of the jobs you hate.
Correct.
Go Correct. if and you know, so if you want to install floors, like nobody says that you have to run the business. Nobody says that you'll still run the business, but you don't have to manage the day to day. You can hire someone to do that. If you want to install, make it so you can go install. Like that's possible to do. And if that's what brings you joy, then go do it. Right. So I love where we're at.
Destination for the process, having the freedom to choose. If you build the business, you delegate all these things and everything kind of happens because you got the right people doing the right things, that frees you up, and ideally it can free you up to a point where you are dispensable to the business. So if your passion is truly going in and installing and sanding floors, you can actually do that, but do it for a passion, knowing that the business is being taken care of and it keeps going and everything's, you know, falling into place because you made the right choices, you made the right investments as far as, okay, I'm going to pay a coach.
Yep. We're going to go ahead.
It's an expense, but it's going to hurt you more if you think of it as an expense than if you think of it as an investment.
That's it. We're gonna dig more into that. I'm gonna interrupt us. We got to get our mid-run ads in here real quick, and then we'll dig into why we have to change our mindset from expense to investment and what this looks like working with a coach and how, you know, sometimes we get the crap beat out of us, but it's in the most loving and kind way possible to make us better. So the rumors are true. GoBoard Pro is available and approved for steam showers. GoBoard Pro was developed with the pro contractor's ease of project workflow in mind. Panels are sized at 48 by 64 inches. They will limit waste on your project, require less seams, meaning less sealant is needed, and best of all, you can space those beautiful blue GoBoard fasteners out to 12 inches without requiring washers. Visit www.jm.com/GoBoard to learn more about GoBoard Pro and their other products. Schluter Systems is all about providing products and systems that ensure durable, functional, and beautiful tile installations with an emphasis emphasis on education through their nationwide workshop program for professionals, the goal of the company is to offer innovative solutions to the tile industry that solve common challenges faced by installers. Their product line includes over 6,000 items, including tile trims, uncoupling membranes, floor heating systems, waterproof building panels, shower systems, and thin-set mortars. There's a reason they're called Schluter systems. It's not Schluter, wallboard or Curdy membrane. They got it all, folks. It really is an entire system. For more information or to register for a workshop, visit schluter.com. Again, links are in the show notes for both companies. Both of them got awesome products. The workshops from Schluter are absolutely amazing. If you have any interest in trying to tackle something on your own, go attend a workshop. You get some hands-on time. You get some awesome. You get to stay in a hotel, right? Schedule Disney, and then you drive somewhere out of state with the Schluter workshop. They're going to put you up. You attend the class. The wife and kids go to Disney for a couple of days, and then you join them the last couple of days. And you can probably ask the hotel if you can just extend the room a couple of nights, and then you might even get that discounted rate that they get because they book so many hotels and so many nights all the time. It really could work out for you really well, probably. But that's just me offering some industry hacks there. All right, Mike.
Yes.
It's hard to. You got to overcome stuff, right? But we need some tough love in our lives. I think people don't always remember that as we grow up and we move away from being parented and having to you just gain a lot of freedom, and you're especially as business owners, right? Oh, I'm in charge. I know everything. It's weird to hire somebody to hold you accountable to do what you say you're going to do, but then also be able to point you in the right direction of, hey, did you consider this? And are you looking at the consequences over here to help make yourself more efficient in the long term? So what's this journey been like?
There's two things I can say where the shift actually happens. One, you have to dissociate yourself from the business. You are not the business.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And once you do that, you realize that you don't really know the business so well as you thought, right? Because you know your stuff as the installer, as the flooring contractor, but as the business, you don't. That's the first. And then the second, which kind of helped me getting involved and starting to work with Doug, you can't see the whole picture if you're in it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You need somebody else to take the picture, the whole picture.
Yeah.
You can't see the forest for the trees. So you need that eagle eye vision by somebody who's really objective, because no matter how much you love your business and you want it to succeed, you will never be able to be objective as far as the tough choices. Right?
Yes. Well, I talk about trying to, as flooring installers, we often have, a literal 1 foot view of our business because we're down working on the floor. And then you get up and you step back and you get that 10-foot view and you can see the entire room and you're like, oh, there's a dark spot developing. I need to fix that, right? There's things you can do, but to have that 30,000-foot view, yeah, we can get it, but it really is different when you're spilling your guts and truly opening up about everything going on in your business, the frustrations, the struggles, where you're at, what the numbers look like, how sales are going, what getting bookings is looking like, why you're frustrated of being on the floor all day, how you're not able to get the new guy trained properly, right? You start telling somebody else this, and like you said, that outside objective third party, it's not that they don't care for you, but they're not attached to the business. That opinion can come in what seems rather harsh, but it's out of a place of, hey, this can be better, and here's how, because have you looked at it like this? And it'll blow your mind a lot of times.
Yeah. And I think people have to shift their perspective about being preoccupied just by tomorrow or the next day or the next week, and look long term.
Mm-hmm.
And long term, you might actually be the biggest hurdle in the way of your business, right? in the long term, you want to make sure you provide enough value, and for a lot of the effort and the work and the investment, right, the expenses with coaching and accounting and all of that, a lot of that is are delayed gratification kind of things. You're
Mm-hmm.
just going to see results down the road. But then you know, once you truly believe that, it's going to be much more comfortable to take that step. Same thing with the person you're hiring. If they're any good, right? They're going to know that if they don't provide you the value, they're not going to be working with you. They're not going to make that income from you for too long. So they need to provide that value. Then they are genuinely preoccupied to show you what you can achieve.
Yeah.
But they can only do that if they get the whole picture. So yes, I am having trouble here, there, just, come out clean, explain the whole situation, where you're at, what your pains are, where
Mm-hmm.
you want to go. And in my case with Doug, that's one thing that surprised me in the beginning in our first couple of meetings. He asked me, where do you see the business in 3 years, 5 years?
Mm-hmm.
And then he also asked me, where do you see yourself in 3 years, 5 years? So he asked me those questions on the personal level as well.
Yeah.
He did really stress that, even without specifically saying it, just through the line of questioning, that me and the business, two different things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of shifted. That was another argument to validate the delegation of these things. I don't pay for them, and that's where a lot of people actually are biased. I don't pay for those things. The business does.
Yeah.
Make sense?
No,
So
it makes perfect sense. I love it. It's a matter of I think a lot of people look at, well, I started the company. It's my company. My name's on it. Da da da. And I think one of the first things you have to realize is, yes, you own the company. I get that. Technically on paper, you own it, but you personally are not the company. If when you have the right mindset, whether it's MSCS Inc. or it's Floor Academy or previously Illustrious Hardwoods, I'm an employee of that organization. And I, as the highest paid employee, and what, even as the lowest paid employee, I have an obligation to make decisions that are in its best interest.
and
And
that's
sometimes,
that's something that I stress, with anybody that's involved in the company.
mm-hmm.
One of your priorities, maybe the top priority, should be the well-being of the company, because the well-being of the company long term translates into your well-being.
Yes.
It's job security, it's growth as far as pay, as far as type of work that we do, and so on and so forth. So we should all be genuinely and objectively interested in the well-being and the growth and the progression of the company, right?
Yep.
And yeah, it's you started the company, you nourished it, it's your baby. You want to smother your baby? If your baby has a fever or a flu or something, what do? You go to the doctor, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when your business has a fever, as far as strategy, as far as accounting, as far as all those other things, as far as writing the contract, you go to that doctor, the strategy coach, the accountant, the lawyer, the whatever. It's the same kind of thing. It is your baby, but properly taking care of the baby means getting the qualified people for each and everything that, right?
Yeah. No, you're totally right. I like the other part you said was that it's not you paying for it, it's the business paying for it. And I think this is why you have to learn not to. Most people are well, not most people, a lot of people commingle money, right? There's the business money in a personal account, and you treat it like, oh, I need a $500 draw, I need $5,000 draw, I gotta go buy groceries, I'm just gonna pull the money out.
Yeah.
No,
And that,
get yourself on payroll. The company's money is the company's money. It stays in its bank account. It needs a separate savings account. It can have a checking, a savings. It can have 15 savings if you want to go follow the profit for profit, not
profit
profit.
first for contractors.
Yeah.
I've, I have that model in my business.
Look, there's nothing wrong with it. If you want to run 7, 10, 15 bank accounts and you want to split money up and move it from here to there and be able to know that you can buy the truck, look, I think it's great. The system works and that's okay, right? But the company has its own stuff going on. You receive a payroll and then you look at the money differently when you know you're making that investment and having that mindset of, I'm pulling X amount of dollars out. The company has the capital to do so, and I should be able to, at a minimum, I would hope that if you go and spend, $1,000 a month or $2,000 a month on coaching, I would hope that over a year of coaching, if you're actually being held accountable and you're not just getting cheerleading, that you can 10x that. And long
I
term,
would
that's going to.
say that for the first 3 months, give it 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing is in 3 months. For
For
the
sure.
first 3 months, if you analyze any kind of coaching you're getting and you don't see a significant amount of tough love, that's not the guy for you. Because that means they just go along with whatever you say, and like, you hire them because they know better than you.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody that knows better than you is going to try to, you know, kind of steer you away from certain things or towards other things. They're not going to go along with everything like your opinion is your no, they have to say you're wrong here. We have to do it this way. Make sense? So
Yes.
it like on remember in the comments with on Doug's episode, I said he's my biggest cheerleader. He's the drill sergeant. He's all of that.
Mm-hmm.
That is because you need all of those. You need all of those.
You
You
do.
know,
If you just have a cheerleader, it's not a great program. If you're not, you're right. If you're not being challenged, if you're not being pushed to the edge, if you're not being forced to explain why and having to defend an opinion or how you want to do something,
right?
it's not going to work because they're not drawing out the best of you. And you could be right, but that doesn't mean that they're not going to force you to explain it because you can't. I had a buddy of mine when I was doing BNI, and he asked me like, "What's it cost you to run your company per day?" And I was like, "I don't know, man. It's something like $500." And while I do have a knack for numbers, and it turns out that I was right, going to the bookkeeper, sitting down, spending some time, actually figuring it out, I think it came in at like 493 or something like that, right? Like I innately knew, but then I actually knew, and it was much more empowering to know and have to
Yeah,
defend it and be able to explain why than it was to just be able to throw out the number and be like, I don't know, it's like $500. So
yeah,
there's a reason.
that's nothing new. The discussion with knowing your numbers, right? Uh,
No, but it's about the point of like being challenged to like it's okay. You may be right. The coach may know that you're right, but going through the exercise of you having to actually break it down and explain it will better reinforce the idea within you and keep you on board with it. Like I think it's a great exercise to even. It's not arguing for argument's sake. It's just making sure that someone can actually, if you can defend an idea, then you're truly behind it. If you can't defend it, then you're just throwing out an opinion, and
you cannot, you
it's not
cannot,
for sure.
you cannot run a business or grow a business based on assumptions,
Yes.
right? And one other thing, when you are thinking about the well-being of your business, growing it or at least keeping it at the same level, right?
Mm-hmm.
Once you start thinking long term, anything you're thinking about long term needs a plan. We talked about the plan before starting to record.
Mm-hmm.
The plan has steps. The more detailed the steps, the better the plan, the better chances of realizing that growth. You cannot have a good plan with good steps unless you consider all the details,
Mm-hmm.
going down to all of the expenses. Therefore, you will create a budget, right? And up to a certain point, the one man show, the one wearing all the hats, can actually do this. In my opinion,
Yeah.
the Profit First for Contractors, Sean Van Dyke's book. I applied that. I read. I think that was the first book when I started to look into these things, and I actually applied that method. I've got 5 accounts. I got like a
Okay.
ton of push. I had to change accountants once because they couldn't understand. It's nothing more than the old grandma's envelopes
Yeah.
system, right? You
Correct.
get $100 or $100,000, and this goes to the butcher, this goes to the gardener, that's all there is. As a one man show, as a small business without any help, anything like that, you think you might need a coach, a strategy coach, an advisor, an accountant. Create an envelope for that, budget for it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the first baby step to it. Because once you get to that point and you're going to go through all these things with your advisor, coach, or mentor, or whoever, budgeting is an essential thing. So you will have to do it. You cannot do it with big numbers until you can do it with small numbers. Make sense?
Oh yeah.
So it's something that I really liked. It brought me a lot of peace of mind when I implemented that system with the little envelopes, so
Yeah.
to say. You make the money, you have to pay your taxes for the money you made.
Mm-hmm.
If everything's in a lump sum, I don't know how much of it is my money, how much of it is the business's money, how much of it is my distributor's money, how much of it is IRS's money.
Yeah.
That was one of my biggest aches. Once I started separating it the minute it came in and allocating it and forgetting about it, that brought a lot of peace of mind. That brought a lot of discipline, a lot of order, right? So it can be started as a one-man show when you wear all the hats, but you need to train that discipline to look into all of these things, to
Yep.
look all the way down to the smallest detail. And it's much easier to do when you're small.
And everything is easier to do when you're small. It's the best way I find to describe it is small business. Let's say it's yourself. Maybe you've got one person, right? So you're the equivalent of a kayak or a canoe if you have an apprentice, right? And you're out on a itty bitty local pond in your town that's like a 5-acre lake. It's man made, nothing to it. You can dip the paddle in the water, and if you want to spin around 180, you just you give it a pull or a push, and off you go. The boat's spinning. The bigger you get, you start turning into the 20, 40, 60-foot yacht. You become an ocean liner if you're like a multi-million-dollar company. How long do you think it takes an ocean liner to spin a 180? It's going to take hours to get that boat to turn around. Hours. It like out in the middle, right? Because there's no tugboats there. Like it'll take that boat hours to turn around. So the more stuff you put in place when you're small, the better off you are. And let alone if you don't have how do you expect to be able to grow and scale at as you grow if you don't have a good handle on your financials? So I think that's great advice, to be able to have something in place that lets you do it. Let alone, it's like you said, the peace of mind that comes with knowing that, okay, the taxes are going to be paid, the distributor's getting paid, the employees have pay when payroll comes through in 2 weeks, and oh my gosh, there's actually extra money sitting in the account. So if something unforeseen comes, like the tires blow out, I can just go, I can get the tow truck to come pick me up. I can go to the tire shop. I can throw tires on and we're still operating. Or you get a weird bid and for some reason you need a new $3,000 tool. I can't tell you how many people I know that, like, $100 tool is breaking the bank for them. And
Uh,
it's
I'll,
just, we can't
I'll
be
give you
that
another
way.
one. I'll give you another one that can make or break a business. How about you budget for a rainy day fund when you screw up that $10,000 job and now you have to save your reputation,
Uh-huh.
right? That you worked however many years to build. But
Yeah.
if you're leaving today and you didn't budget for it, to have that cushion, yes, I can eat that $15,000 job, $20,000 job. Not a problem because I budgeted for it.
Yeah. I wouldn't dream of operating a flooring business without having my average sale in a bank account. And that's
Exactly.
just, a lot of people would be like, "Oh, but you could cash flow and you could do this and you could scale." And like, no, man, I want to know. I don't want to have to call the insurance company. Like, if it was a big enough thing, I would call the insurance company. But I don't want to have to call the insurance company. I want to be able to assure Mrs. Jones that, hey, we screwed up. I'm going to take care of it. And if it is a big enough thing, I'll call the insurance company, but she's already getting taken care of. I'll get reimbursed on the back end. I want her to be I want the client to get satisfied and immediately know, like, hey, we screwed up. We're taking care of it. I don't want it to have to be an issue. So if your average project's 20 grand, in my opinion, you need 20 grand in the bank like on top of everything else you're trying to do. It just needs to be sitting there at all times, ready to go, to be deployed. And it's the peace of mind that comes with it is totally worth it because you just don't have to worry.
Right? It's, and again, understanding these things and seeing them as the way to go is a process also. You can't just tell somebody, hey, you need to do this, this, this. If they never ran into that, they're not really going to take it for granted. But
Yeah.
all of these things, sooner or later, if you didn't run into them so far, you're that much closer to getting there, you know?
Okay, so this actually poses a good question, and we'll see where this goes, and then I think you have a son, I have a son, I have a daughter. we we love to try and instill knowledge into kids so that they don't have to make the same mistakes we did, especially, or if you want to take it from the perspective of training an apprentice, right? Like, you're trying to teach them and be like, you need to do it this way, and this is going to get you the results. And then they go and they do it a different way, and then they have bad results. You have to be like, why didn't you listen? Why can't you follow directions? Like, what is it about this that you didn't understand? I think that the only, for me, there's knowledge, right? Like, I can have the information, and then there's wisdom, which is knowledge applied. And so when you apply it successfully, then you get good results. And for all of our want to try and get people to learn from our mistakes and not make them and skip them, I think as human beings, it's just a really hard thing. And so you're making a great point, but it's like, how do we get people to not do that? And I think the same thing is with the coaching as well, right? Having a coach there to, like, they're telling you, like, no, you got to do it this way. And you're like, yeah, whatever, man. And you'll still do it and be like, nope, I got to run my head into the wall 500 times before I realize, like, oh, I should have just have listened to the advice and it would have saved me 6 months. So how is that happening and going for you?
There's different situations, like in real life, the example you gave with the kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
Same with the schools I teach. Um, I think there's a lot more value in learning from supervised mistakes
Mm-hmm.
than there is from giving them the best scenario solution and them just applying it because they don't see the value in it.
Yeah.
They just don't. And I would prefer they, whether it's the kids or the students or whoever, I would prefer they make the mistake in a supervised, safe environment, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then learn to troubleshoot it in a way like get out of that situation. Then they would understand the value of doing it right the next time instead of doing it however they see,
Yeah.
fit. So that's on one hand. On the other hand, making that mistake or taking for granted what the coach says while I'm delegating, why? Just through delegating something, I admit in this case, right? Hiring somebody. We're not talking about delegating, putting your apprentice to run the big machine for the first time. Like you hire a professional.
Mm-hmm.
That automatically implies, or it should imply, that you're hiring that person for that task because he's better at it than you. So the roles are reversed. Maybe he's gonna try you a little bit to see if you can actually execute this thing or you want to do it your own way, and then he's going to steer you back and okay, this is where you went wrong, and make sense. So I think for the two different situations the roles are reversed. You can
Mm-hmm.
be teachers. Make sense.
Yeah. No, I think I love being able to I think the best way to test somebody is to make them explain it to you, right? If they can't explain it to me, then they don't know it.
Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of people go wrong is like they don't understand why their apprentice can't do a skill on the job site. And I'm like, well, make them lead the job, make them lead that part, make them tell you what to do, right? If they can't walk you through it and make sure that you're getting all the proper tools and you're doing it, then they don't know. It should reveal where it's broken down, right? Like what steps they don't remember, understand, and then you can go fix that portion of it. And I think that's probably a lot of times what coaches are doing is, you're having to break down your business and they're able to analyze the processes and say, there, right there. I guess I got one more for you. How many times have you found that you can sit there and have a conversation with Doug and you're like, man, I got this thing going on and I got this thing going on and this thing's broken. And
Every
you
other.
think you have like 3, 4, 5 different problems and he'll come back and he'll be like, no, man, you got this problem. And it's something like further up the chain that you're not realizing because you're so worried about putting out the fires that again, you can't step back and get an eye on it. And you're like, oh, wait, if I fix this one thing, it fixes like 3 or 4 things at once. Does that happen quite a bit?
He is extraordinarily consistent about staying on task no matter how much I dilute the conversation with my personal drama. I was actually joking with him at one point. I'm like, Doug, maybe you should cook a batch of popcorn before talking to me every time because it's like your favorite drama show. Remember I watched his episode and he said he's got that best of folder.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I think I'm the best of drama in that folder as far as his clients, right? Because again, everything, we're all human. My problems are bigger than anybody else's because they're mine.
Mm-hmm.
But that happens to all of us. And that's another reason you need somebody to keep you accountable, keep you focused on the task. His only concern, obviously, that I don't die, right? But his only concern is the well-being of the business.
Yeah.
And he knows that side inside out. He doesn't just bring his knowledge to the table,
Mm-hmm.
right? Me dealing with him and having him coach me. He brings all the experience of dealing with a ton of other companies much bigger than me that probably ran into the same situation. So he learned a lot from that. So when
Yeah.
that situation or something similar comes up in my case, he's got 3 different solutions because he probably tried it 3 different ways before me with
Yeah.
somebody else. So
For sure.
I think that's the part that a lot of people don't understand what they're hiring. They're not just hiring a person. They're hiring the solutions for the problems of all his past clients.
I think that's
That
that's a great. It's not even a
makes sense.
perspective. That's a great truth. and realizing the value of what you're actually paying for. I think the other thing is you're saying that, yeah, you got to pay him, but
Mhm.
he's got a vested interest in the business doing well, because if the business doesn't do well, you're not going to continue to pay him. So his true, like, yes, he wants to make money, but if he can't make your business do better, then he's not going to get paid very long. So I think a lot of people think that, oh man, coaches are scams. They don't really help you, right? And there are a lot of cheerleaders out there. And if you're just hiring a cheerleader, you're probably not going to appreciate the program and feel very good about it. And you won't keep doing it, right? And so how long can those people stay in business? If they can't produce results, then
Correct.
I don't see it lasting very long. But somebody that's actually good at what they're doing, like, they have a vested interest in you doing better, because then that means that you'll spend more time with them. So I think that's you have to realize the investment you're making and what you're getting, right? You don't hire the guy that just went and rented Easy 8 from Home Depot to sand your floors, because he probably doesn't know what he's doing, right? We want to hire the person that's a little more expensive, has professional equipment, can do it dustless, maybe they're certified, and they bring some knowledge and expertise to the table, and we know what we're paying
It's
for
like
to get the result.
there's a market for everybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a market for the guy with the easy 8. Absolutely. Um, I actually saw it was a reel today I actually shared it on Instagram. This guy was talking about a potential lead that wanted to build this fancy house, and they priced it at $8 million. And a couple of weeks later, the guy calls and he's like, look, I looked you up. I saw your profile. I saw your portfolio and everything, and you're an artist. It's just that I don't value that.
Mm-hmm.
I want to build this house for $3 million because I just want the space. I don't care about it being impeccably built. I'm fine with, lesser quality, right? So there is a market for everybody in
Yes.
there. But as a service provider, whether you're a floor guy or whatever, or a coach, even if it applies to them too, it's totally up to you if you want to stay at that level or you want to progress. And it goes back to what I said about what kind of value do you bring to the marketplace? Like, you can be the
Mm-hmm.
best coach in the world. The guy with the easy 8 is not going to hire you if that's where he wants to stay,
Yeah.
right? You might be worth $3,000 an hour to somebody who values what you bring to the table, but you might not be worth 50 to that other guy,
Correct.
right? So it's all about thinking long term, and that's where it all started to click for me. Long term, I need a plan,
Mm-hmm.
and that plan needs to cover all of these aspects of the business. And then, coming to terms with the fact that, yeah, I'm really good at this aspect. I have no idea what I'm doing in those other aspects. So that plan is not going to come true, or I'm not going to make any progress until I address that. Choices are, I learn how to do that too. And then I take away from this thing that I really do well, or I find somebody who does. Right.
Yep. It's the question that I like to teach people to ask is who, not how, right? A lot of times you how can I solve this problem? No. Who can solve this problem, right? Let's figure out how to hire somebody to go solve it, and then it's less of an issue. I think one thing I want to point out before we wrap up here is we're talking about hiring coaches, and I believe it's a great investment, and I haven't had one in a while. I did do one for a fitness thing. I had to hire a copywriter. And I think I write great copy. I can't write copy to save my life for Floor Academy beyond the episode summaries, but for like to make the website and stuff, I couldn't do it. I had to find somebody. She sat down, we had a couple conversations. She made it happen. And so you have to pick and choose where you want to invest, but you can get work done for free. You can find a coach, right? Like I love having these conversations. People reach out to me all the time, and I'm happy to chat and talk. Am I going to do it like an hour, every other day for you? No, I can't do that, right? We'd have to definitely discuss, you getting in a mastermind group or something at that point. But I'm happy to have a conversation or two, here and there and run some ideas and stuff. And I think the thing is that you can go find a mentor, you can go find a coach. They're out there. There's people within this industry, within your specific trade, whether it's carpet, tile, vinyl plank, hardwood, whatever it's going to be. There's people in it that you can talk to, that you can see as a business owner that's further along than you. Ask them all the questions you want. They're probably more than happy to help because they want to see others succeed just as they have. The problem becomes when all you do is ask questions, but you never do the work. If you don't go produce results, they will not help you anymore. You are going to burn that bridge. And I see it happen all the time. People are like, oh, I'm hungry. I want to do this. I want to do that. Cool, man. Here's what I need from you. Here's a list of things. They'll reach back out a month later. Hey, did you do any of that stuff? No. But what about this stuff? Did you do any of that other stuff? No. I can't help you then. Right? If you're not going to do the work, how do you move forward? Because the questions you're asking now have to do with you needed to go do that stuff. So you can find amazing mentors and coaches out there, and you don't have to pay a thing, but you're going to have to do the work. One of the reasons why paid coaching is such a great investment is because you feel really, really foolish when you're dropping hundreds, if not thousands or tens of thousands of dollars, and then you don't go do the work. And you're like, I know this is going to make it better, but it stings when, there's a buy-in. When you got skin in the game, it's going to hurt a lot more. And so I think that's one of the places where people are like, oh, I don't need a coach. I don't need someone to help me. Maybe you don't. Not everybody does, but some people do. And that investment gets them to go commit and do what they need to do. So any thoughts on that, Mike?
Yeah, the one thing I wanted to add to the whole free advice, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's plenty of it out there, plenty of it. I'm obviously biased to our industry with the groups and all the community. There's titans, legends in our field, in these groups that are more than happy to help you, right? And they probably have most, if not all, the answers to all of your pains and questions. But you have to, like you said, if they help you and then you don't put it in action, and then they see you 6 months later that you ask the same question, or you procrastinate or all that, you have to remember one thing: they got to where they are because they know how to manage their time. They know how to be efficient. And they just realize when you post the same question or you haven't done the work, that when they taught you the first time, they wasted their time. And they're not going to make the same mistake again. Mm-hmm. So in that perspective, yes, so many people super happy to help, but it's a two-way street. I need to see that I actually helped.
Yeah.
I didn't just waste my breath. Make sense?
Of course. I hope it makes sense for everybody else. Look,
with the paid services, yes, you got skin in the game. It's like, otherwise, if you pay for that month of coaching or whatever, and you haven't applied whatever advice you got, whatever direction you got, if you want to replicate that, just take the same amount of money and put it on the sidewalk and set it on fire. See how you feel about that. It's the same thing. You just did it. You just did basically the same thing, but much slower, right? Because that money burned away. You had it, now you don't, over a month, but you think you got a month of coaching. No, you got a month of slowly wasting that money away if you haven't applied all of that, right?
That you did. Mike, if anybody wants to reach out to you, where can they find you? How do they follow you? Where's all your socials and fun stuff?
So I've cut back on a couple of the groups. I'm in Real Masters of Hardwood. I'm on Instagram, MSCS Inc. Um, www.refinishatlanta.com. That's the website for the company. That's pretty much. I'm pretty active on social media, so I'm there.
Okay. And if I'm not mistaken, you're trying to hire somebody.
Yes, I
Look,
am.
if you're young and hungry and in the Atlanta area, Mike, this is July. When does this actually come out? Does this come out end of July, early August of
Mhm.
2024? And a good company, I'll add this for you, and this because I'll know it will be true. A good company is always looking to hire. They may not have a position for you immediately, but really, really good companies will find a position for you if you're that good of a hire. So, if you want to get into the trade and you're young and you found this show and you're trying to learn a bunch of stuff, this is there's a great opportunity in Atlanta for you.
Yeah, we're always looking for great potential, those things that you cannot necessarily teach. I personally don't care about the level of skill.
Hmm.
It's those other things that that you have to bring to the table, but they cannot be taught, work ethics, being reliable, being punctual,
Hmm. Ah, you can
just
teach a monkey how to sand a floor.
right.
I need the other things, right? But I'm sure that you have values for the company and a mission and a vision statement and stuff for people to buy into and understand, and
Yeah, and all of
you can do
those, by the
interviews
way,
based on those.
to bring it back, all of those values actually got more crystallized as I started working with Doug
Hmm.
because those reflect in the image of the company when I'm out on the market and somebody considers hiring me or not.
Yeah.
Make sense? So making those values
Hmm.
and that culture clear will help target a certain specific type of clientele
Yes.
that kind of fits in the whole plan, long-term plan, right?
Yeah. No, there's a lot of contractors that take projects with clients that do not match their values, and then they wonder why the job sucks and the project sucks and it's so frustrating and it doesn't go well and it's always a struggle and it brings them down and it makes them frustrated and they don't want to do it and they hate their job and like just identify with people. Like, you're out there interviewing them, make sure that it's a good match. If it's not a match, don't do it.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
it's great.
you can you can fool an interviewer. They might be really pressed for help and all of that, but know that if you don't truly fit in, you're not going to enjoy it there. It's going to suck, right?
It'll show up real quick, especially as the team grows. If you make a bunch of hires based on your values and they all match up,
Yep.
the team members that line up with the values will make it really miserable for the person that does not match up, and they will come to you and be like, that person
Yeah.
doesn't fit, they need to go, and it
A,
makes
a
life much
strong,
easier.
strong culture will actually make that oddball single themselves out,
Hmm.
right? Because again, it can be super cool, super nice, because we like what we do. We want to do it as efficient and as good as we can to make it easy on ourselves in the long run. If you don't share the same vision, it's it's always going to be much harder for you. You're not going to enjoy it, right?
Definitely.
So we're in it for the long run.
Well, it's easy to know the long run when you sat there and identified what that looks like. So it all comes full circle. A lot of this stuff, I think people kind of have an idea. They think it's oh, that's corporate mumbo jumbo. Only really big companies have to do that. They didn't get big by not having it, folks. You got to have, like we talked about it towards the beginning of the episode, right? You as a small business have to do these things that businesses do, and so that's coming up with this stuff, and that's whether you use a coach to help you or not. There's things that you got to do to work on the business. Mike, I want to thank you for joining me. I appreciate your time, your insights. I think you have great perspectives. I love this journey that you're on, investing in yourself, investing in the company, continuing to grow and really building something that, is rewarding for you and hopefully the community that's supporting it. So I'm sure that there's a whole, they're supporting you, so you're going to be able to give back in some ways. It's not just about making a buck. That's an important part of it, but I'm sure there's other things going on. So again, thank you. If anyone has questions, you can find Mike on the different socials. And what do we got here? Make sure you're checking out flooracademypod.com. You can go to the files section. We got our business budget calculator over there. There's a why can't I ever remember what it is? You can job cost. We got a job costing worksheet. We've got our inventory tracker so that you can really, if your tools ever get jacked, you can make your insurance guy really, really frustrated by the check he has to cut you because, well, you have an inventory with pictures and serial numbers of all of your tools. And once you spend the painstaking time to actually set it up, because I know you've got a van or trailer or truck full of tools and it's way too many and it seems overwhelming, just start, do a little bit at a time. But once you start, you go to Home Depot or you go to the supply house and you pick something up and you just take a picture of it the minute you buy it. And then you add it to it and you're all done. And it's really, really easy when you only have to do one tool at a time. But then they get jacked and you have to file a report and you send this spreadsheet over to your insurance guy and he just cuts you a check because he has nothing to argue. And then you don't get a check and then remember months down the road, all of the tools you forgot because you don't remember them. They're small. You use them every so often. And, you go to grab it and it's not there. And then you got to go spend your own money on it. And while the company has money for it, you should have got it reimbursed at the time. How do I know? Personal experience. That's why it exists. What else? You can help support the show at patreon.com/Floor Academy. Even $5 a month goes a long way in helping me to continue to produce this content, bring it to you so that you can get a lifestyle lift, run a more efficient business, and hopefully have more time with your family. We got a couple of words here. What do we got? We got listeners. It's nearing that time again. Time to remind you that the International Surface event is returning to Las Vegas January 28th through the 30th of 2025. So mark your calendars now. Floor Academy podcast listeners will have the opportunity to register for free, as per usual, once registration opens in September, using the promo code. This is a tough one, guys. We go through this every year. It's just my name. It's Kyle, Kyle. I know you're going to ask me, and I'm going to tell you. It's 4 letters. You can do this. We're going to remember it. We're going to get in for free. We're going to register now. We're going to book our hotels. We're going to have a great time. So whether you're an installer, retailer, distributor, or serve in another capacity within our industry, attending TICE is a solid resource to expand your knowledge and networking base. You can also learn about the newest industry-leading products coming to market. Stay up to date with the International Surfaces event page on Facebook or visit intlsurfaceevent.com. Ardex has been providing innovative solutions for the construction industry for 75 years. From our game-changing tile and stone installation products to our easy-to-install TLT shower systems, we've got you covered. Our industry-leading moisture control products like Ardex VB100 ensure a solid foundation for our best-in-class line of self-leveling underlayments, and subfloor preparation products like Ardex Feather Finish and Ardex Feather Finish XF. At Ardex, we are building tomorrow. To learn more, visit www.ardexamericas.com today. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I truly appreciate it. Mike, thank you again for joining me. We will catch you all next week.
Pleasure. Bye.